Can you just take us through your career journey?
Sure.
And up until the point, I guess, of getting into IT?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was young, when we moved around all the time, and it wasn't a military family or anything like that. I was just chasing jobs, and we grew up pretty humble, to be sure. And the good piece of that, I think, is you get comfortable with change, you get comfortable being a little uncomfortable, but it also puts a little fire in your belly, right, in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. I didn't really know how to direct that, and we got through high school, you know, worked a little bit, went into school. At that time in my life, I had very little clear direction, and I didn't know a lot of that. I'd never had a checking account. I didn't realize that you're supposed to actually maintain full-time status at a school if you want to maintain a grant for financial aid. So that was a new one on me. So I bounced in and out of school while I was just trying to, kind of make ends meet. And I woke up one day, I was probably 20 years old, and I was maybe 19. I'm like, I gotta do more in my life. And so I enrolled in a community college, and I thought, what would I actually finish? Because, I didn't have a ton of focus area when we were growing up outside of, you work and you eat and you go to school. And so I thought about, I like to read. So I would start to focus on that. And in the background, I would buy paperback books of the Western canon and just sort of consume as much as I possibly could to try and get ready for this, because I thought I'm way behind, right? And I think that was thematic for me through most of my career, was this feeling of being behind. And again, that created a sense of urgency for me. So anyway, I did well in an honors program at community college, and they had the ability to matriculate up to Boston University, and Boston University had a crew team, and I thought crew looked cool, so why not go to Boston? And so again, not the best decision making, but in a great experience. And I joined the crew team, and I was working, and I was putting myself through school bartending, and a little bit of time passes, and I get close to the end of my degree, and Boston University, at least at the time, I don't know what it is like now, only accepts 7 years of credits. Well, given the start of how I was bouncing in and out of schools, I started rolling off of credits as fast as I could put them on. And I just ran out of money. So I'm like, I got to stop this. It's like, I can't do this anymore. So I put a hold on that, and I took a job managing a nightclub where I had been bartending. And I think I was making like $27,000 a year. Thinking, like, I can actually tailor my suits now or something. Whereas it was a very different kind of, but effective. Anyway, so I did that for a little bit, and I met a person at the bar. I was just, I don't know, replacing like register tape or something. I don't know what it was. And this guy walks up and he orders a drink, and we start talking. And he's, members only jacket and the Velcro Reeboks, and he's sort of your classic sort of, 1990s tech guy, right? And he tells me he's in IT, and we start talking. I'm like, IT, what's that? So he explains it to me, and I said, well, how did you get started in that? Because you make 3 times the money I make, and I like that idea, and so let me kind of work into that. And he says, no, you don't want to do this. To get into this kind of career, you have to read these really big books, and you have to take these tests, because of the MCSE, the Microsoft Certified System Engineer, was the base certification at the time. And I'm like, I'm pretty good at reading big books and taking tests. Like, let me go see this. So I saved up a little bit of money, and I built my own computer, and I bought the first book, which was like desktop computing, and I learned it on my own PC, and I took a test and I passed. And then I moved from being a nightclub manager to being a desktop tech. Wow. And then I loaded server on it, and I bought the server book, and then I learned server, and then I took the test and I passed it, and then I got promoted to the server team. And then, and you just sort of format, right? Yeah, exactly. And I think that the thing for me, if I look back on growing up, it was, again, you're hungry, you want to grow, you're a little uncomfortable with discomfort, but you're pursuing something, and that urgency just carried. I felt it strongly until I got my first VP job. But I incremented through technology for a period of time, and then got into messaging, and then I started writing articles that got published in magazines around how to do certain things, and I at the time after messaging, it was sort of dot-com bubble days, and I was doing some deep sort of network, packet inspection kind of stuff. It was way more manual back then. And 9/11 happened. And during, post 9/11, the government said we have to secure critical infrastructure. Somebody at the power company in Arizona had read my article on some piece of messaging security, and they reached out to me and asked if I would come and help them do some security work. And that led to about 2 years of consulting. That's why I live in beautiful Arizona now. And there again, you have these moments of clarity, I think. And one of them for me was, it's like the BlackBerry problem. You can only sell so many minutes in a day, but you can sell lots of data. I'd look at leadership the same way. I don't scale beyond the hours that I'm chasing as a consultant. I probably should get into leadership. So how do I get into leadership? Because I've never done it. It sounded like I was a desktop supervisor, became a manager and a senior man, whatever. And so I thought project management. So I convinced somebody I could do a project, and we did that around. That's when I moved to DHL. Mm-hmm. And it was probably 6 months into that project, the manager for the group that we were doing this big project for left, and they offered me the job of managing. And within another year and a half, I was managing 2 teams. And then I got into this idea of, do the principles of leadership apply across different disciplines, or are they unique to, this only works for this particular group?
Yeah. And
so I got to explore some of that as I grew out in opportunity. From there, I went to Honeywell and so on and so forth. So I'm happy to share as much detail as is useful, but it was definitely an early career of incremental learning.
Yeah.
And constant pursuit of, what is missing in my capability, my career, my resume, my ability to deliver technically, and go fill in those gaps.
I think the healthy sense of urgency is great, because it's always, you learn more when you're kind of stretching or a little bit outside of where your skill set is. But I never knew that you made that leap from a conversation at a bar with somebody that was coming there. They got you into IT. That's incredible.
Yeah, I still owe the guy, I think.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
The big question I had around the English lit background, you said, hey, I know how to read big books. Was there anything out of that was more of a feature than a bug in terms of you getting into IT? Like, do you find yourself leaning on some aspect of that you've just kind of used throughout your entire career?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a really heavy piece of studying humanities in general, I think, is evaluation. It's analysis. It's why did this artist or this author or this architect make these decisions at that time, and what came before and what came after, and so on and so forth. And I think that idea of scrutiny and analysis certainly plays into problem solving. It plays into logic. It also plays into the concepts of continuous evolution, because you see this, you go all the way back, take literature as an example. You go back, I mentioned the Western canon. It starts with, traditionally kind of Homer and what happened there, or Aristotle, and how do those things show up in books that are being published today?
Yeah.
And I think understanding the evolution of a thing is really important to as completely as possible to understand that thing itself. And I think those things those concepts lead to an appreciation for what it takes to really understand, and that understanding leads to better business decisions. It leads to better leadership, and so on and so forth. So I do think there's a correlation in that. I also think communication. It doesn't matter what you do, if you can communicate effectively, that's important. So certainly that's the obvious side of it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, I think everyone kind of goes through that phase when you turn 18, 19, 20, even getting into your mid 20s, of just kind of like, need to find my kind of lane here. But like Corey said, it's pretty crazy that it was just a guy at a bar and you were just boom, off and running from there.